Hello and welcome back to Star Citizen. My name is Evenlease, and today on 10 minutes more or less ship review, right behind me, the ARGO MPUV tractor, personnel, and cargo. Let's go ahead and take a look. Welcome back to another review. Thank you Archangel, Cypher1, What124, and ZeroGrav, as well as WinRar42 for joining me on today's review of the tractor, personnel, and cargo. Yes, we have a lot of people helping out because we wanted to get a couple extra scenes. I also wanted them all to be flying at the same time and to get an idea of how each one of them worked separately. Now, with the MPUV, we're going to start with the personnel and then move on to the cargo and then finish off with the tractor variant. So the personnel variant, which you can see on screen, is $40 if you were to buy it on the Pledge Store, or 378,000 UEC in-game. It does have a 40-second claim time or a 13-second expedited claim time, and it's very cheap to do so. You have to remember, not a single one of these ships has a quantum drive, so the whole point of these ships is to be with another ship like the Idris, like the Polaris, like a ship that requires it, even something like the Hull C. And that's really the only purpose with these vessels here. Now, you do have no guns or no missiles, and that goes for every single variant that I'm about to show you. You have one size 1 shield generator outputting 2100 bubble shield, and that goes the same for all variants as well. You have 5,920 HP on the personnel and the MPUV cargo, and that's a little bit different on the tractor, which we'll go over once we talk about that vehicle. Now, you do have the same speed between the personnel and the cargo, sitting at 170 SCM with a 360 forward boost, a 140 backwards boost, and an 890 nav speed. It does have a pitch yaw roll of 30, 30, 85 with a boosted 36, 36, 102. And with that, I mean, there's not too much to go over. Every one of them has their differences, right? So the personnel is supposed to be from ship to ground or vice versa, or from ship to ship, a personnel carrier. You would load it up with crew for your ship or load it up with somebody that you're transporting, and you would bring them either down to the ground or back up to your ship, or you could potentially use it as a miniature drop ship because it has a very low radar personality, right? Or radar profile. Now, the MPUV personnel, we're going to go ahead and take a look at on screen right now, is not updated to the gold standard like the tractor, and neither is the cargo variant sitting over there. So no gold standard, no components passed. They don't have either of those on these vessels yet. So taking a look, you have the cockpit right there, and you can open it and get in it from either side. And then you go back here, and this is where you're going to fit people. It's quite amazing because it's such a small access point. When you go ahead and open this door here, you would have to crouch to go ahead and get in and find your seat. Now, once you're on board, you do have a total of 8 seats back here. So you have 8 occupants and a pilot, which would allow you to bring in some sort of special forces team if you wanted to, or just to transport people back from the ground back up to your, capital ship out there in the verse, even on like something like the 890 jump. And that's the whole purpose of this ship right here. So we'll now take a look at the MPUV cargo, which you would think, wow, it's the cargo variant, so it must have a lot going for it compared to something like the personnel. Well, taking a look at its stats, it is $35 if you were to buy it on the Pledge Store, 330,750 aUEC if you were to buy it in game. It does have a 10-second claim time. There is no expedited claim time because you can just get it instantly, but why waste the money? You can just wait the 10 seconds and you're good to go. Again, no guns, no missiles, one size 1 shield generator giving you 2,100 shield, just like every other variant, and then you have 5,920 HP, and that's the same exact thing as the personnel, right? So, looking at these ships, I'm like, why are any of these above $30? They are kind of useless right now. They're not a high use case ship. You're not going to be doing a lot with these things currently in the game. And even if you could, they're still worse off than something like a Mustang or an Aurora or any of those starter ships that have a lot more capability out there in the verse. That's a big question I've always had. These things should be rated around, or not rated, but costing around 20 bucks, maybe even 20, 25, maybe a little bit less. It really depends because their use case is very limited. Even in the future, they will be still somewhat limited. The MPUV Cargo has a top SCM speed of 170, a 360 forward boost, a 140 backwards boost, and an 890 nav speed. Now, I mentioned nav speed, but guess what? You can enter nav mode, but you'll never reach that nav speed because they don't have quantum drives. And it won't let you get to that top nav speed of 890, which is seriously too bad. Hopefully one day they fix that and they separate the nav speed from the quantum drive itself. And you do have a pitch yaw roll of 30, 30, 85, boosted 36, 36, 102. Now, both this, the personnel, and the tractor carry the same amount of fuel at 3 SCU of hydrogen fuel. So not a long distance ship by any means. Now, when you're looking at this and you're going, wow, well, what does it have going for it as the cargo variant? Well, you got the same cockpit, obviously. All it is a different module. You should just honestly have one Argo and one Argo tractor, right? Because the tractor's a bit bigger. But one Argo here with the modularity of the personnel pod or the cargo pod. And looking at the cargo pod, you do have 2 doors from the side, 1, 2, and it holds 2 SCU of cargo. But if you look at this grid, you're going to be wondering, why is it only 2 SCU of cargo? It should probably be 4 to maybe even 6, because look at this. You have this grid all the way around, and I don't want to hear, well, how are you going to walk in there? You're not supposed to walk in there. You're supposed to load a bunch of cargo, get in your pilot seat, and run off. It's not really something you're supposed to be, camping in, right? I mean, that would be cool, though. Pull out a cot and put it back there and have a good time. But these 2 boxes are all you can fit on this grid, so you have all this space. If you could, you can move that box over to 1, 2, maybe even 3, and then 3, 3, 6. I'd say you can go probably about 9 boxes in here, all in total. But worst case, it should be at least 4 SCU. And sadly, it's not. So these boxes are in kind of a tough spot. And then you do have a random cargo chair here. It's funny how this thing has a chair for its cargo when some medical ships don't even have a chair for their doctors. It's a very interesting feature, but there's also some graphical bugs, as you can see, like that door is kind of see-through. And there are some of those issues throughout these older models. And then we'll have the tractor variant, which we'll look at right now. And last but not least, we're going to be looking at the MPUV tractor, which is the newest variant and actually has the gold standard components pass, which the other 2 don't. This one is $40 on the Pledge Store or 415,800 UEC in game. So you can get it for a pretty cheap price. I wouldn't say it's the cheapest. You can buy yourself a Nova Tonk and multiple other vehicles for not too much more, right? So with that, this thing does have a 10-second claim timer. It also has no guns, no missiles, but the difference with this one is it does have 2 tractor beams, a size 2 on the front of the ship and a size 1 on the back of the ship. That size 2 and that size 1 are both capable of carrying extremely heavy things like a 32 SCU container. Now, can you put a 32 SCU container on here? Absolutely not. You can put a 16 SCU container on here, 2 4 SCU containers on here, an 8 SCU container on here, or multiple 2s and multiple 1s, but you cannot put anything over 16, which is truly too bad, because if you want to load something like a Hull C or an Idris or a Polaris, you're not going to be loading 16 SCU containers. And if you are, that's because your shipment isn't that big. You're going to want the biggest box possible so it doesn't take up I guess the space would be the same, right? But the biggest box possible makes it easier to move, because then that means there's a lot less cargo to move around on or off a ship. Now, this ship does, like I said, have that one size 2 tractor beam at the front and the size 1 at the back. And then it does have the same shield as the other. So a size 1 shield with 2100 bubble shield. And then this one has a little bit more HP, probably because it has its components pass. So they had to add some HP points to the component doors and everything, putting it at 6,380. Definitely not terrible for what it is, a small ship that carries a small amount of cargo without a quantum drive and no real ability to defend itself. It also has a higher SCM speed, sitting at 175 SCM with a 365 forward, a 145 backwards, and an 895 nav speed that you cannot use for some reason. And then you do have a pitch yaw roll of 35, 35, 85, boosted 42, 42, 102. You can carry up to 16 SCU of cargo with what I've told you. But really quick, before we move on to taking a look at this ship in person, I do want to say there are blades for this ship, and that's a serious statement. I meant that. Out of all the ships in the verse, they gave the MPUVs blades. Do I understand it? No, but there are blades for it, which comes with a specific paint, as well as 2 other options on how you want to modify its speed and maneuverability. With the cargo variant of the ship and the MPUV 1C blade, it comes with 160 SCM, 350 forward, 130 backwards, 870 nav, with a 31, 31, 87 pitch yaw roll. And then if you look at the cargo with the MPUV 1C TSB blade, it's 180 SCM, 370 forward boost, 150 backwards boost, 910 nav speed, and a 29, 29, 83 pitch yaw roll. Now the personnel has the same exact stats for the 1CB and 1C TSB blade. But if you're looking at the tractor, the MPUV 1T blade, or B, is 165 SCM, 355, 135, and 875 nav, putting it with a pitch yaw roll of 36, 36, 87. Now, if you're looking at the MPUV 1T TSB, it's 185 SCM, 375 forward, 155 backwards, 925 nav. Now, you also have a pitch yaw roll of 34, 34, 85. I don't know why they gave a ship like this blades, but they surely did, and that's pretty interesting. Now let's take a look at this ship in the first person. When you're sitting here, it looks almost like the others, but it's a little bit different. The landing gear actually touched the ground, the ship looks much nicer, the ship sounds much nicer, and it has its full components and gold standard pass, as you can see on screen, of all these things opening. And yes, you can have multiple configurations of cargo on here, but only up to 16 SCU. Now, I'll actually get into the cockpit of this one and show you exactly what all the rest of them will look like over time. So the other cockpits have a little bit of a bug where the person doesn't even touch the steering wheel when they're out there flying, right? So no hands on the joy, nothing like that. But then you do have, of course, 2 MFDs and your radar and the ability to put your gear, engine, and self-destruct and remote turret for, of course, your tractor beams. It's a pretty cool feature, and I think it's a neat ship. But again, this ship is not something you're going to be really flying around a lot, ever, really, unless you're looking to move some cargo on the ground and you want to have some fun with it, or if you're looking to pirate somebody, you know, in the legal means of illegally pirating somebody. So with that, these ships are in a very interesting spot. No quantum drive, no ability to defend themselves. They're only meant to take off from other ships and really help support them in the means of moving cargo or personnel. Honestly, if I were to give these things a score, it's going to be in like the 30s because they're quite useless right now. They really are. Nobody's flying these. You can't jump anywhere. You can't do anything with them. You can put them in your ship, but I'm going to be honest with you, you're only using this thing in very limited use cases, and that's about it. Now, there are some out there that can put this one to real work, but again, that's only a few people out of the many, and that's honestly too bad. So with that, this is the MPUV tractor, personnel, and cargo. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Let me know down in the comments, what do you think of these little ships? How are you going to use them in the future of Star Citizen? Thank you for being here, and you guys are truly all amazing, especially my Patreon members, YouTube members, everybody. You guys are all the best, and I will see you all in the next one. If you're building a new PC, go through longshipindustries.com, a veteran-owned mom-and-pop business that takes pride in every single build. He built my personal rig, which you can actually see featured on the website. The care, warranty, and customer support are top tier. Trust Longship Industries for your next build.